So there are God ordained priorities. Okay. Our priorities is our first one is our relationship with God.
Yep.
And a lot of people put the church
above that.
Right. They think that that's, they think that the church is God and that's the number one priority.
Right.
Then they have broken marriages. They have broken relationships with their children.
Yep.
They're not healthy.
Yep.
I mean, it goes on and on because they're putting the church in the place where only God should be. So let's get our priorities. So if we got our God ordained priorities where it's God first, then it's family.
Right.
It's not even the church.
Right. Welcome to the Burned Out Preacher podcast, where we have frank discussions weekly on ministry struggles and how many of us in the ministry have gone from overwhelmed and exhausted to calm and equipped leaders who love being in ministry. I am your host, Monique Addison-Stinson, burnout prevention coach for ministry leaders. Are you ready to overcome burnout? If your answer is yes, then keep listening. All right. So hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Burnout Preacher podcast. And I am your host, Monique Addison-Stinson, burnout prevention coach for ministry leaders. And as you know, I help ministry leaders go from being overwhelmed and exhausted to being calm and equipped leaders who actually love being in ministry. And today, I'm so excited. First of all, everyone, I was just telling our guest, Erin, my hair is wet, so it looks flat and today. So we're just not going to focus on that. But I am super excited today because I have been hearing from my clients that some of their burnout stems from financial stress. And so today we have a financial expert on. And I am going to let her introduce herself before we get started. So, ma'am, could you please let everyone know who you are?
Okay, well, hello, everyone. Thank you, Monique, so much for having me. I'm excited to be here as well. And I'm just praying that something I say helps someone. So, Erin Wilmer, born and raised Pensacola, Florida. I joined the Navy at age 17, served for 24 years. After I retired from the Navy, I started my career with Edward Jones Investments. My branch is located in Pensacola, Florida. I manage right at 65 million of assets under care. I am married to Steve Wilmer, and we have been married for 24 years. Actually, today is the anniversary of our very first date. It was 26 years ago.
Oh, wow.
We have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, Judah, Josiah, Joy, and Jana. Judah and Joy and Jana are still home, and Josiah is a midshipman at the Merchant Marine Academy in Long Island, New York.
Nice.
I am an ordained elder with Pensacola Life Church, and I am an author. And what else? What else do you want to know?
That's good.
That's a lot.
That's good. And it's some stuff I didn't even know.
Yeah. So and I'm happy to be here. I've been with, did I say I've been with Edward Jones for 10 years?
Yeah.
And so in this career in itself is a ministry all by itself, because you would just be surprised some of the relationships that I've built over the past 10 years. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Like I said, some stuff I didn't even know. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for introducing yourself. Well, like I said, I am so excited to talk to you today, mm-hmm. because I've been hearing from clients and just some pastor friends, a lot of their stress and burnout comes from finances or the lack thereof. Okay. And a lot of ministry leaders, particularly, I'll just focus on pastors. A lot of pastors haven't quite created other streams of income, haven't thought about retirement and what that looks like. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today, particularly retirement, first of all, because I'm finding that a lot of pastors stay in the ministry forever. They're like 95, still pastoring, and they're there because they haven't created any type of retirement.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, if you will. I want to start off with that, kind of like starting out at the end, and then we'll, go back to what pastors should do when they enter the ministry. So what can you tell us about retirement and pastoring and how pastors can actually get started?
Well, I will, whenever we're dealing with leadership in the ministry, you always got to give them biblical principles, right? And so I would say that, it's a principle to have our houses in order, right? It's definitely a biblical principle to have our houses in order, and making sure that that we take care of those things that we need to take care of, whether it be life insurance, whether it be making sure we have some form of retirement. And I think one of the biggest myths out there is people think that it takes a lot of money to start planning for retirement, and it really doesn't. What it takes is consistency. Just like we pay our tithes consistently, we should be putting money into some type of retirement plan consistently. And I think the biggest thing is just sitting down with a professional, financial professional, and just, I think one thing as church folk, we don't like to tell our business, right? We don't want anybody to know our business, and we really want to look like we got it all together. But I think you just have to sit down with a financial professional and lay it all out on the table and let them know, this is where I'm at. This is when there should be an exit strategy, right? God never intended for us to die in these positions.
Thank you.
In the corporate America, you're always training your replacement.
Exactly.
So it just breaks my heart to see the elders and the deacons on the platform, and they just sitting there, and God never intended for it to be that way.
I know, right?
So I would say first, getting our house in order. If we want to have a biblical principle, let's get our houses in order. And that entails making sure that one day we can walk away and enjoy this beautiful world that God created, enjoy our families. And one of my dear friends, she says that the church, she believes that the church killed her parents because they never went on vacation. They worked their regular jobs, and then they worked in the church, worked in the church, and they end up dying like that. And I watched my great grandparents do the same thing. All they did was church. And so, and I'm sure that's not what God.
Exactly.
That's not what he intended. He intended for us to have multiple streams of income. And you can look back when he created the Garden of Eden, there were 4 rivers that flowed into the Garden of Eden. Now, those rivers signify supply, right? So he intended for us to at least have those 4 streams of income. And that could be our main job, but then it could be the gifts and talents that he put on the inside of us. If you've got a gift to create things, that could be a stream of income for you. Your skills, if you're good at, I don't know, whatever you're good at, singing or writing or whatever.
And most pastors are good at speaking. That could be a stream of income.
Another stream of income, exactly. So, and back in the Garden of Eden, he created those 4 streams for supply, and that shows that he intended for us to have more than one source of income.
Right. I love that. Oh gosh, oh goodness, where do I start? Because you hit on so many. One thing, so my corporate background was in human resources. And whenever one part of my job was to work with leaders on succession planning. And I have always wondered why so many pastors don't have a type of succession planning in place. They don't do any type of succession planning with their leaders. And I'm finding, and I'm actually releasing a podcast interview that I did a couple of weeks ago tomorrow, where that pastor and I were talking about, let me just go ahead and say it because it's going to be out anyway. But I am finding, because I am working with some, I call them other churches. So they're not Black churches. Okay. Mm-hmm. A lot of those churches have these systems and plans in place, but unfortunately, a lot of our Black churches don't. They don't have those systems and plans in place. What are your thoughts on that? Are you finding the same thing that I'm finding? And what's your what are your thoughts on that? Because you mentioned something that you're right. We mainly in the Black church, we don't want to air our dirty laundry. And it's not dirty laundry. It's, to help us, and then we can then help somebody else. So what are your thoughts on that, if you don't mind?
So my nice answer is, I think a lack of training, right? Yeah. My not so nice answer is it's really just kind of based in pride. I want to be the man, and I'm the man, and I'm gonna continue to be the man, and right. So I think that let me say it like this. So there are God ordained priorities. Okay. Our priorities is, our first one is our relationship with God. Yep. And a lot of people put the church
above that.
Right. They think that they think that the church is God, and that's the number one priority. Right. Then they have broken marriages. They have broken relationships with their children. Yep. They're not healthy. Yep. I mean, it goes on and on, because they're putting the church in the place where only God should be. So let's get our priorities. So if we got our God ordained priorities, where it's God first, then it's family. Right. It's not even the church. Right. It's your family. And then it's your church or your career. Different people have those in different places, but right. Church, then your career, and then entertainment. So I think if we get our priorities in order, then we realize that me being the pastor all the time, I need to go on vacation with my wife or my husband. I need to spend some time with my children. I need to take care of myself so I can be here, Right. So I think when we get our priorities together, then things start to line up. Yeah. And so I just think that our priorities are just off. Yeah. Which makes everything else off.
So sure, you preaching today, Reverend Erin.
I'm trying to be polite.
I know, and that's the thing that, and I do the same thing. Like, you'll see me kind of look aside. I'm trying to, choose the nice words and not try to ruffle feathers. But unfortunately, I feel like in this season, we do need to ruffle feathers, because we can't help those coming up if we don't ruffle some feathers and deal with the real. And the real is that we've gotten it wrong in the church for many years, because we won't talk about these things. And like you said, our priorities are all out of whack. We're like that little Jenga game where you pull one out and it just kind of tumbles down. Yeah. We're tumbling down at this point because and I'm so happy you mentioned this. A lot of us equate church to God. And that's not necessarily, that is not, because church, you got rules that don't even align, that aren't even scriptural, first of all. But yeah, so thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is what I'm seeing and have been seeing for years. That is one reason why I reluctantly rebranded and started working with pastors and ministry leaders. I did not want to. God told me for years this is what I was supposed to be doing and focusing on. I was like, I don't want to do that. No, sir, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But I finally did, and I'm so happy that I did. But thank you for sharing that word.
Yeah.
Because it's really needed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard, but in the AME church, there's been this scandal, if you will, where retirement funds weren't handled properly. And so a lot of pastors who have retired, their money's gone. Their money is gone. If one of these pastors were to come to you, and what could they do at this point if they're at the point where all they relied on, they didn't have any other streams of income? What could they do if they were at this point where they were investing some and now it's all gone?
Yeah, I would say that they would probably need to hire an attorney, right? Because that's criminal.
Yeah.
What has taken place, and some of the same stuff has happened in the civilian sector where
Yep.
People's 401ks were misappropriated, and those people have to file suits against those companies.
Yeah.
And most companies have liability insurance. They have the type of insurance that will cover those types of things. But people don't know, so they don't,
Right.
I would definitely seek an attorney and look to file a lawsuit against that company.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I also have been talking to some young pastors, actually young ministers who are on track to become pastors.
Okay.
What would you tell young soon-to-be pastors what they should do in order to get their financial lives in order, if you will, so that they don't end up being retired and have nothing?
Right. So I think I would still tell them the same thing that I tell young investors now, is, start with a budget, right? I think a lot of times we live outside our means. All of the millionaire clients that I work with, they are frugal. They don't spend a lot of money. They still shop at, Walmart. They bargain shop. They're excellent money managers.
Gotcha.
And so I think the basis of any financial plan is a budget.
Gotcha.
So if a person does not have a budget to see where their money is going, then at the end of the month, they're like, where did all my money go? Because they don't have, and that's just the basic financial,
right,
is a budget,
right.
And a budget is a fluid document. So you're always changing it and adjusting it, but you got to have a basic to know exactly where your money is going, what you have coming in and what you got going out.
Gotcha.
And then that way you can budget accordingly. And I always tell my young investors, when you get a raise, your retirement gets a raise, right? You can start off with $25, but once you get a raise, then we're going up to $50. And your goal is you want to be putting away about $415 a month to get to $1 million in retirement.
Okay.
And so I always tell my young investors, when you get a raise, your retirement gets a raise.
Gotcha.
And then I tell them, you pay your retirement. You pay into an IRA account, whether it be a traditional or a Roth, and you pay into it just like you pay a bill, and just take that money, pay into it, automatically invest it, And then when you get to retirement age, you have, money to really truly enjoy retirement.
I love that. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing and giving those hard numbers as well. I have found that automating helps me out a lot.
Yes,
Like, just
yes,
take
yes,
it.
yes. Yeah, and then you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Just come out automatically and you don't even think about
Yeah.
it, you don't even see it. And I tell my children, my sons, especially because they're older, but I always say, don't spend every dime you make.
Right,
And
right.
I think as a young person, I spent every dime I made. I wish I could get back the money that I spent on clubbing and drinking and shoes and clothes and all of the stuff that I just spent money on. I wish I could have it back.
I know.
I wish I could have it back. So I tell my kids all the time, don't spend every dime you make.
Right.
So,
I love that.
yeah, just being a good steward over what God has blessed you with, and making sure you have a budget in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you work with churches and businesses as well? And the reason why I'm asking is because there are a lot of churches that are struggling financially. Is there a way for a church to have like an investment, or is there, and most churches obviously are nonprofit, so is there in any way for the church entity to have other streams of income, maybe invest in something? Is that something that churches can do?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
So churches, working with churches, they can invest in tax-free investments. So tax-free investments, money market, CDs, things that are very conservative because they don't want to take risks with the church's money, right? So conservative investments like CDs, bonds, money markets, things like that and then you only want to do it with the reserve. You want to make sure that you've got a working pile of money to make sure that the monthly bills, but if you got excess reserve money that's just sitting there, then you can invest that in an interest-bearing account. You can put in a CD, money market, any of those types of things.
Right.
To get the money, to get the money to work hard for you, right?
Right.
That's really what investing is. It's just putting your money to work. It's all you're doing. Instead of it just sitting in the bank and just kind of being lazy and not doing anything. There are people who invest is they put their money to work for them. Yeah, it's really all you're doing.
I see. I love that so much because I hear a lot of churches, again, we're talking about burnout. So that's another thing that pastors are worried about, their own financial. They have the stress of their own finances or lack thereof, and then the church itself, people aren't tithing like they should. And, that's a whole nother podcast, but.
And then I think another thing is, I think as churches, because at the end of the day, the church is an organization. It is a business. That, I mean, we love Sister Sue so much, but she shouldn't be the business manager.
Okay.
Elder John, he's been with the church so long, but he shouldn't be doing the taxes, right? Hire the professionals to take care of the business aspect of the church, right?
Exactly.
So I think that we don't do that, and we really should have the professionals keeping the books of the church. That way, no one's tempted to take a 20 here or a 10 there. I'm not saying that we would do that, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Got the professional bookkeeper and the CPA and the business manager doing the things that they are experts at doing. It protects the church organization part of it.
Thank you. I've been saying it for so long because those are gifts. Those people who are like you in the industry, that is your gift. Let someone like you manage the finances because that is your gift. That is what you do on a daily basis. You could bring that into the church. So find something like that. And that's what I was saying. The other churches, they have that. They have financial advisors who are also members be a part of the financial committee of the church, right?
Exactly. You have your experts serving those roles. I know that Joel Osteen's church, they do free financial counseling for their members, and I've volunteered at my church to do counseling for anybody that wants it. My husband and I, we do a free financial boot camp. We do that every 6 months, where we rent out a facility, and we just teach financial basics just to help people. And there's just so many ways that you can get help and get the guidance that you need to get the stuff in order.
Absolutely. I love that so much. So what else could you tell younger preachers? So you said to start out with a budget. And I feel like that is, especially with young people, that is like so important to just start out and understand what's going out, what's coming in. So after they've started out with their budget and they find out that, oh, I got some extra money just kind of hanging around, what should they do then as a young person?
So as a young person, they should start some type of IRA, whether it be a traditional or a Roth. And you hear a lot of talk about a Roth IRA. So the money, you basically, with an IRA, it's an individual retirement account, and you basically are given the opportunity to put money away to where you don't have to pay the taxes on it right now. That's a traditional. So you don't have to pay the taxes right now. And then later on in life, when you reach 72, you start pulling the money out of that IRA and you start paying the taxes on it. The reason why that makes sense is because most times when we retire, we're in a less or tax bracket than we're working, and it's a lesser amount of taxes that's due. Right. Most 401ks are done that way. 403bs, all of those employer-sponsored plans are done that way. Right. The Roth is after tax, meaning so you get your paycheck in your account. You've done your budget and you see you've got extra money, so you can put after tax money into a Roth IRA, meaning you've already paid the taxes on it, and then the growth is tax-free. Okay.
Gotcha.
The beauty of the Roth is it makes sense for young people because you can put that money away and it grows tax-free. There is a salary cap on the Roth though. So if you make over a certain amount of money, I don't know the exact amount now, but it's in the 6 figures.
Gotcha.
Then you cannot contribute to a Roth.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So that would be the two avenues if they're wanting to do something for retirement. And the whole idea with that traditional and that Roth is you put the money in that account, and there's a penalty if you take it out early because it wasn't designed for you to take it out.
Right.
I always tell young investors, you pay into your retirement while you're working, and then when you retire, your retirement pays you back.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I like that so much. Excuse me. I really, really love that because, like I said, I have been talking to a few younger ministers who are on the track to becoming pastors, and I had one. He and his friends, they're already talking about this, which I think is great, and they're also already talking about succession planning, which I think is awesome as well. So they've done their budget, they got their retirement plan set up. What about savings for emergencies? How should they handle that?
So the rule on that is you want to have anywhere between 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses and some type of emergency savings. And the reason why the emergency savings is so important is because say you don't have the emergency savings and you have a retirement account, right, and something happens and you need to replace all 4 of your tires, right? Right. Where are you going to pull that money from? So if you don't have that emergency savings, then you're going to go to your retirement because you got to get your tires fixed. You got to go to work, right? So that's why that emergency savings is so important. It's for life's little emergencies, right? If you lose your job unexpectedly, that's why they say anywhere between 3 to 6 months, because normally it takes you about 3 to 6 months to find a new job after unexpected unemployment. So, yeah, it's just, and young investors, I always say, put some in your savings and some in your retirement.
Yeah.
Some in your savings, some in your retirement. Some in your savings, some if you only got $40 to spare, 20 here, 20 there.
Right.
I'm gonna go back to the budget, Monique, because I think with the budget, so say if I'm a shopper, so I can be completely honest with that. I'm a shopper. And so I get an allowance. I have a certain amount of money that I get every month to do with whatever I want to do. And once I'm done, I'm done. Right. So if you're a shopper, put it on your budget. Right. Give yourself a certain amount of money to spend. And then once you're spent, you've done that, then you're done for the month. Then you get your allocation next month. It's all in the discipline. It's all in discipline. Absolutely. That's all it is. And being a good money manager, right? Yeah. Being a good steward over what God has already blessed us with. So whatever it is that you like to do, if you like to go out and eat, put it on your budget and set yourself an amount. Okay, I'm going to go 3 times a month. This is how much I'm going to spend. Once you went your 3 times, you're done for the month. Right. If you see that you can't stick to the 3 times and you want to go 4 times, okay, well, just your budget, but then you're going to have to downgrade something else, right? So, but just make sure you get some line item on your budget. If you pay your tithe, it's a line item on your budget. If you go get your hair and your nails done, it's a line item on your budget. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just make sure, because your budget is telling your money where to go. Right. You are the dictator. You are the manager. So you tell your money where to go, not your money telling you, oh, I'm going to go to McDonald's. I'm going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to Ross. I'm going here. No. Right. And that's a lot of how we do it, right? Right. That kind of does what he wants to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so true. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm a shopper as well. And so I have to make sure I don't do too much. So that is perfect. That is perfect. And it's perfect for younger people to hear that. Right. So they start out young when you get to be my age.
Yes. And when we're talking to the older pastors, if we go back to those basics, we can find out that might be part of the problem, right?
Right.
We're never really good money managers, so we need to go back to that basic budget and telling the money where to go. Exactly. Right? Some of those problems that we're experiencing older in life is just from not doing the basics.
Exactly. So true. I absolutely love that. I love that. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was, because I did mention, churches having financial issues and churches possibly doing something else with their money as well as a whole. But I want to talk a little bit about couples. So what if the young pastor's married? What's some good advice that you can give them in order to prepare for their family while they're in ministry and then beyond?
Okay. Well, I think it goes back to getting the house in order, right? It definitely goes back to our priorities. Yeah. If we realize that God, then family, and as the provider, it's our responsibility to make sure that family is taken care of just in case something happens to us. Right. I think from that standpoint, yeah. This one is tough because, I've heard so many stories of people passing and not having proper insurance in place. I've heard of the elderly saying, well, I'm not going to leave you a lot of money because you're just going to go out and marry somebody. I've heard all of that stuff. And I think that it just goes back to that priority thing, right? If we're spending our quality time with God and we got that relationship solid with God, he's going to convict us on those types of things. And a young pastor that has a family, his priority is his relationship with God and then that family.
Yeah.
I don't, I can't say anything other than that.
Yeah.
And that's before the mothers at the church, that's before the deacon board, that's before all of it. It's his family,
Come on, man.
you know.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
again, sitting down with that financial professional and just getting his affairs in order and making sure that that family is taken care of.
Yeah.
If something were to ever happen to him or her,
Absolutely.
that that mother would be able to care for those children, that they won't be. I mean, can you imagine a young pastor that unexpectedly dies and the mother and the children getting put out the house because there was no life insurance?
Yeah, right.
I
And
mean,
it happens so often.
it happens so often, and it's just a misplaced of priority.
Yeah.
It really is. And I love the fact that they want to give their life and serve God's people. That's phenomenal. Thank you,
Right.
pastors and ministers and servants of the Lord. But he called you to serve him first, then your family, right? And so and he's entrusted that family to you to take care of them.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
I had a past guest, Dr. Addison Kennedy. I don't know if he said this or if he heard someone say this, but it was that, gosh, I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was that a lot of pastors are cheating on their spouses with the church.
Yeah, I've heard
like the church is
the other woman.
Right, the church is the other woman, and it is actually Christ's bridegroom, right? And now they're they're cheating on their own spouse with the church, and that's kind of what I'm hearing you saying. And I really do hope that we get it together. We get our priorities straight.
We will. And there is a lot of pastors out there that do have their priorities, straight, and that they do have their affairs in order, and they do have multiple streams of income, and they have a retirement. So there are some out there that are, that are focused on and they have their priorities together. We're just really just trying to bring knowledge, right?
Exactly.
We don't want anybody to feel condemned. We want you to be convicted. And then to just share knowledge, right? And then to make the necessary adjustments that need to be made. I think when God brings knowledge to our doorstep and it convicts us, it's because he wants some change in that area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what we do. Yeah, that's exactly what we do, to enjoy your life, to get rid of being burned out. It's not normal to be burned out. And it starts with the way that you get rid of burnout is you get to the root cause of the stress. And some of it has to be finances, some of it, a lot of it is family issues, whatever that root cause is, and to get rid of it. And we want you to live life and live it abundantly and enjoy. Right?
Yes, exactly. I hear my husband say all the time, we're trying to get to that abundant life that God talked about,
Absolutely.
That's where we want to live at, is in that abundant life. And I really believe that going back to the basics is getting our priorities straight, that will start to take care of a lot. The burnout, I mean, because when we get our priorities, let's go on a vacation, let's go on a weekend getaway, even just me and you. Even before the kids, because a lot we had to learn this, me and my husband, is that it's us first, then it's us and the kids. So a lot of times we'll say, we're going out to dinner, and the girls are like, can we go? No, we're trying to stay married. Y'all stay
Absolutely.
here. We're trying to stay married. So, and I think that that's going to help in that area of burnout, because you're going to take a vacation. You're going to relax. You're going to unwind. I always call unplug. I'm unplugging.
Absolutely.
I'm unplugging from everything. I'm done. My phone is off. I'm unplugging. And I have to do that just to, because you got people pulling on you from all kind of directions. So you just have to unplug.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I created an ebook called Unplug that I give away for free. I'll put a link in the description, but that is so true. You have to unplug. You have to, and as you said, if you get your priorities straight, everything just starts to fall in line. God being the top. That relationship with God.
I'm telling you, that relationship with God will reveal a lot, and it will bring out the person that He intended for us to be. It brings out that true person that He intended us to be. That well-rounded one that's got all of their affairs, and there's taking care of business in all areas that they need to be taking care of business in.
Absolutely. I love that so much. So that is all I have. I just really wanted to have a financial expert on to talk about that, because I've been hearing a lot of pastors just stressed out financially. And thank you for sharing your expertise. Let everyone know. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Okay. So my Facebook is Erin Wilmer Edward Jones. So you can find me on Facebook, and you can send a message on there, and it's got all of our contact information, telephone number, all of that. My ministry page is Erin Edifies. I do a morning devotion on Facebook every morning, Monday to Friday. And then my book, God's Chocolate Chips, is a daily devotional. It's a 31 daily devotional, because I'm not going to go past 30 days. 31 days and I'm done. But anyway, that's on, you can buy that anywhere online. If you want an autographed copy, just inbox me and I'll send you an autographed copy. That's it.
I love it. Thank you again. This has been long overdue, and just so happy to have you on. But that is all, everyone. Send me some questions if you have any questions about this. I can shoot them over to Erin, or you can inbox Erin any financial questions you may have. She will need to be your financial, you would need to pay her to be your financial advisor. She can't give you a ton of free information, so you got to
give some free. I'll give some free.
But anyway, I will make sure I put all of that information in the show notes as well. But thank you again, Erin. It's been
so much for having me.
Thanks. Talk to you later, everyone, and I will see you in the next episode.